How did you feel? Were you more relaxed and confident in your parenting?
I think every parent has some level of, especially as they're getting ready for their child to leave home and to move on into the next season of life, the questions in a young woman's heart really haven't changed much. They're the same questions that I was asking at that age, and we're still asking those questions. Am I enough? Am I loved? What makes me worthy? What makes me valuable? Where do I look to have my worth met? Who do I look to for direction? There's something much deeper that we can actually find answers to the questions about where our worth lies by going directly to God's Word.
This is the Christian Readers Community Podcast.
A quiet whisper in the night so near, stories of faith that draw you here. The words unfold like morning's glow, a place of truth where hearts will grow. A gentle breeze that turns the page, wisdom passed through every age. Come gather around and take your seat, the Christian Reader's Tales complete.
Everyone, welcome to the Christian Readers Community Podcast. My name is Tracy Jiga, and I am excited to be back as always, and I'm happy to be here with Tracy Harper. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thank you, Faith. I'm glad to be joining you today for a conversation.
Yeah, and you wrote this very beautiful book. And before we dive into it, tell us more about yourself.
Well, thank you for asking. I'm married to my husband. We've been married almost 23 years, and we have 3 teenage daughters, the oldest of whom just finished her first year at university here in the United States. And then I have 2 younger daughters who are waiting in the wings to graduate from high school, and one is a high school junior and one is a high school freshman. We live here in Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland, and my husband and I have been involved in full-time ministry with students for over 20 years.
Full-time ministry with students, what exactly do you do?
We've worked with students at different universities and colleges, both on the East Coast of the United States and most recently in Hawaii at the University of Hawaii. And what it's meant is that we've helped introduce students to Jesus, the students who are there for their studies, but they're also there, and for many of them, it may be the first time that they're hearing about what it means to have a personal relationship with Jesus. So we get to introduce them to Jesus, help students grow in their faith, help equip them to handle the challenges of their lives through a faith lens, and also just have a lot of fun with them. You know, we do a lot of bonding activities, we do a lot of fun social activities, take them on retreats and conferences, but ultimately we're there to help them grow in their relationship with God.
How long have you been in this ministry?
Well, for me, it will be almost 25 years. Like I said, the majority of those years have been spent working with students. And then most recently, we've been able to expand our ministry a little bit to work not just exclusively with students, but work a little bit more in our local community.
Oh, that means 25 years. That means you've been doing it before you got married. Then your husband joined you and continued the ministry.
Yes,
Wow.
My husband and I actually met through this ministry. It's called Cru. Some people might know it by the name Campus Crusade for Christ International, but that's how we met when we were at university. We were involved in this ministry and we're growing a lot in our relationship with God. And when we graduated, we both said, well, we want to be able to give back to this ministry that has done so much for us. So, maybe we'll serve with them for a year, maybe 2. And then at the time I had been planning on becoming a high school English teacher. Well, here we are now, 20 plus years later, and we're still serving in full-time ministry with Cru.
Woo! Something that was not supposed to be a year or two eventually turned into 23 years and counting. Oh my. And, to top it up, you've even written a book from him, not them. Tell us about your book.
Yes, thanks for asking about the book. I wrote this book because my own 3 daughters were approaching the teenage years, and I began to think about what's the message that I wish that I had had when I was their age. And I began to think about all the things that I've talked about with young women over the years. And I began to realize that the questions in a young woman's heart really haven't changed much. They're the same questions that I was asking at that age. And we're still asking those questions. We're asking, am I enough? Am I loved? What makes me worthy? What makes me valuable? Where do I look to have my worth met? Who do I look to for direction? These are all things that we tend to look outside of our relationship with God, but God really wants to be the one to answer those questions from His Word, from the Bible.
Seeing that you were once a teenager and, you know what it feels like to grow up as a teenager, in this world, how did it feel for you knowing that, oh, okay, this is for real. My daughters are growing up. My daughters are almost teenagers. How did it feel for you? Were you scared for them? Did you feel one of those fears that, okay, one of these problems that happens to teen girls will come on them, so I better do this or do that? Or how did you feel? Were you more relaxed and confident in your parenting and your experiences over the years with Campus Ministry for Christ?
Yeah, you're showing some insight there, because I think every parent has some level of, especially as they're getting ready for their child to leave home and to move on into the next season of life, you begin to wonder if you've equipped them enough. Have you taught them what they need to know to be successful in life? And as a Christian, we begin to think about, well, what is it that they need to know and to live out for themselves as part of their own faith? And so it just became really important to me because I can't speak for where you live, but I know here in the United States, we put a lot of emphasis on achievement and on success and on productivity. And I wanted my daughters to know that their worth and their value isn't tied to how well they perform, and that there's something much deeper, that we can actually find answers to the questions about where our worth lies by going directly to God's Word.
And your book made it to number 1 on the Amazon category where it was placed. That means you definitely wrote a life-touching book. Have there been maybe any experience, any testimonies you heard from parents, college students after reading your book?
What I really like about it is that it has become a bridge between generations. I mean, I tell people, I'm like, I wrote this book for older teenagers, university students, even young women who are in their early 20s. But the book From Him, Not Them, it's as often read by moms and mentors, many of whom read it for themselves first, and then they look for an opportunity when they feel like the time is right to pass it on to their daughters or to the young women that they mentor. And what many people have discovered is that the themes in this are universal. Like we never outgrow the need to know that our identity isn't tied to the approval of others. It's not tied, like I said earlier, to our achievement. It's not tied to our appearance. God is the one who gives us our core identity. And so it's really important that we stop looking to everyone else to tell us that we matter, but to go to God to see what He has to say.
So let's say I am a mother of a college student, and I'm a bit worried about my child, my girl child, because she went to school, she went to college, and because she wanted to belong rather, she joined this group of friends, and she's been getting into drugs, drinking. What do you suggest for the mother to do?
Well, I think first we just need to understand that our children, and even us ourselves as adults, that we're constantly being placed in new spaces and new places where we want to belong. Like, it's normal to go off to, say, college, as you said, and we're having to make friends for the first time. We're in classes with new people. Maybe we've joined a club or an organization where we want to fit in. And maybe for some reason we don't feel like we just automatically fit in. Like, that's normal. I think all of us have experienced times in life where we're sort of the odd person out. Like, either we don't fit in because of our ethnic background or our gender. Maybe our skills don't line up with everyone else in the room. Like, and what I tell people is that is really I call it our situational belonging. Like, in that particular situation, we may not automatically belong, and that's not a good feeling, right? Like, you've probably experienced that. But what we need to teach ourselves is that our core identity is that we do belong somewhere. We do already have great value, and it's not tied to whether or not the people in that room like us. I think that, yes, over time, if we're going to be in a particular space, we want to work towards having, close relationships with those people. But I think what happens is that we let the situation tell us it affects our core value. Like, you didn't stop being loved by God because you went into this new situation where you're meeting all these new people. Does that make sense, Faith?
Yeah, it does.
We want to teach ourselves and the young women that we care for that we can have more confidence, that no matter where God is leading us, whether it's to college or maybe it's into a new job or it's a new circle or community of relationships, that our value doesn't change. Our core value, because it's tied to God's choosing of us and what He has to say about us, that can help us navigate even very complex situations.
Talking about complex situations, I grew up a visually impaired teenager. At some point, I was a visually impaired teenager, and moving among my counterparts, I saw some difference between how I was brought up and how they were brought up. And your book is basically a guide about a young lady seeking validation from God, and not men. So I saw how, growing up as visually impaired, some of my counterparts, sought validations, because already they felt damaged because of their sight condition, and some even had issues with other parts of their body. So for visually impaired teens who are listening to this, or mom or mothers of visually impaired or physically challenged teens who are currently listening to you, can they be able to get a copy for their daughters as well?
Sure. The book is available on Amazon, which I think is pretty much available worldwide. And if you can't get it sent to you as a paperback copy, it's available as an ebook. If you have a Kindle or an e-reader, you can get it that way. It's also available as an audiobook. So if you have access to Audible, which is available through Amazon, you can listen to my story where it's recorded and narrated in my own voice. And so, yes, it's available in all formats that someone would need.
Okay, so you've heard it all from Tracy, and wow, Tracy, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your calling. Thank you for answering the calling, and thank you for writing this beautiful book. I mean, a guide for a guide to a young lady seeking validation from God, and not from men, concerning life issues and her self-worth. And I think these days we all need it growing up as girl child. It's just, there's a lot happening in the world today, and it's so shocking, when you see teenagers who are struggling with self-esteem, confidence, and really, I believe this book is timely. So thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome, Faith.
Thank you. So once again, you said the book is on Amazon, Tracy Harper, From Him and Not Them, right?
Yes, From Him, Not Them.
From Him, Not Them. What's your website?
My author website is www.tracyharperwrites.com. And if you visit there, you can learn more about the book. I also send out devotions to women who want them, who want to stay connected and be spiritually encouraged in their walk with God. And if you visit my website, you'll see the opportunity there to just provide your first name and an email address, and we can stay connected that way too.
Good. All right. Thank you so much, Tracy. You've heard it all from Tracy. And if you're interested after listening to us, you can get a copy. Could someone get a copy directly from you? Say maybe a signed copy or there.
Are you asking about getting a signed copy?
Yeah, or say maybe a direct copy from you if they want.
Sure. If people visit my website, there's a contact form, and you can just send me an email, send a message saying you want a signed copy. I actually do that a lot. I'll mail you a copy. So I would love to do that. I'd love to write a personal note to someone.
Well, that's definitely within the continent of the United States.
Yes, you do have to live in the continental United States for that option.
All right. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you everyone for listening. I'll definitely be back. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, and bye-bye, everyone.
Step into the light where hope is found. Voices of love with a peaceful sound. The Christian reader calls to thee, oh, hope is found. Voices of love with a peaceful sound. The Christian reader calls to thee, oh, hope is found. Voices of love with a peaceful sound. The Christian reader calls to thee. A world of grace and harmony.